having some difficulty with the and the sooner that you're coming close to like something of becoming the greatest of what you can do, or becoming closer to the truth for however you'd understand those, you will likely and imminently get more and more of needless and useless and daunting challenges that are uncanny, untimely, and just incredible with the challenges. To the better you get at something, the better you get at doing something, the more that shit just get very difficult and hectic like that. But uh but so that's how you may know you're doing great things, is that it get harder than hard. So it's been very hard to do some of these things, but I think I'm near about getting to completing like what I was reaching for with this channel. And then I had a live that I did last night, and the YouTube it confiscated the material that I uploaded. In the processing, it deleted most of the audio, and I think that's because I was a little bit too loose in referencing some of the actual the kind of actual players that I was leaning into for the sake of like teachable content. And some things are heavy enough, especially certain acronyms are heavy enough that you use the right wrong acronym and your shit ain't about to go up like that, because it's still, you have a lot of commerce going on like with online. It's actually incredible how much commerce goes on at the speed of light at all times of day and night, that there wouldn't be actually more go wrong with it than there does. But such as that you have different interests at play, livelihoods, and people got to eat off the livelihoods. So it's politics, baby, and none of us are bigger than politics, none of us. But I was reaching for a few things in that live last night that didn't make it up, and I wanted to kind of rehash them. But when you, a lot of times, like when you get someone online and they're trying to say different things, but they're trying to skirt certain words and stuff like that, that's called couching it. Like how you would offer something is how you would couch it, and it's actually necessary on these platforms, because you won't get to land something if you don't couch it right. So I'm learning that even try as you may, try to be funny as you may, you don't get to land that if you don't couch it right. So I'm gonna try to rehash some of the statements that I was making last night, but in a more tempered way, so that it might actually land. But I was saying that, like, one is that in that video last night, I touched on some sensitive topics. But what I was just wanting to say is that what would be egregious about someone call you a name or something is that your personality is really the thing that your call sign in this life, to what this life is, and what this life is to you and can be to you and for you and from you and by you and toward you. That the signature of that is the stamp of that is your personality. That's your unique mark on this life, but also its unique mark on you is your personality. So it's the hardest thing to be disabused of, to be disaffected of, to be aloof to your own personality. That's a little bit about something about what it would be to be a master, is that you're aloof to things, including yourself. But also, for another person to put you in this lot of these other people that are like this, as they understand that superficially, and also you to be like that superficially, that's very difficult to stomach. Because one is that to define another person, that's near about the greatest violence you can do, is to define somebody. But also to trump that person and say you're no more than this card. That's so, yeah, you're unique, you're your own form of joker. Yeah, we know you're a joker, but you wouldn't be the first joker out the deck, or out any deck, or of a deck. So you're just like your own joker, but you're also like a joker of any other deck had a joker in it, and you're no different than these other jokers over here. So you're not really you. You're not as much of you for being a joker as this other joker who's more of a joker, or who actually got themselves in trouble and other people in trouble by them being a joker. And now you're saying I'm like that joker, that I actually didn't get a chance to be like them, or enjoy the things they did, or win the things, or suffer win the lessons. I didn't get none of that. But you're saying I'm this worst form of joker that you ever read about in a book. I'm that guy that had lived over here at once upon a time. I'm also that guy. So that can be egregious in just defining another person for themselves, because it's our prerogative to experience life, that is define ourselves through our experiences as we choose. So there, like, I was touching on the subject of a little bit of different orientations yesterday, and to say that if you were to say that one person is one thing, right? One is that it's a connotative statement, so that if you so like certain words that mean happy have meant happy. That's what they denote, happy. But if you use this happy have some difficulty with the bandwidth. But also my point is that when you touch on certain subject, it starts to get finicky like that. But all I'm saying, it's egregious thing that you can, the most mean spirited thing you can do this in a the soonest way to do that is to be in a group of people that they actually didn't get to have those other people. And also your anybody that would define for you what your personality is, know how you interface with loving people, know how you interface with loving people and loving life and loving yourself. To define that for another person, especially as it's part of your experience and other people's experience, nothing but this over here that had been also that over there is what you are now, and you're better than that or no worse than that. Is that's really a form of robbery, to rob someone of the sensation and the prerogative to experience life as themselves and define life as themselves when you define them for them. But you can't do arbitrary way without a genus. You can't do arbitrary way without a genus, like to say you're a general. So you're applying a generality onto a unique person. That's a form of violence. To overlay a generality, a general designation, schedule, status of a person onto another person with different life experiences, according to your appreciation of their similarity. All that is very, very mean spirited and very detrimental. But what I wanted to say is that I got on that tangent last night with that. But also I said there's that someone in that stream, they actually asked me a direct question. It was I don't think it was intended like I don't think it was entirely good faith intended, just by the because it came out of nowhere. But that's not wrong actually to say anything that would come in your mind, because that's also what we're deprived of in life, is that we're so appropriate now. So back in the day, we were traumatized, and we were marginalized and oppressed with notions of sin back in the time. You were none of it. So all your ass are nothing but some sinners. But as soon as you try to get your act together around sin, yeah, there you go. The one that think that their stuff don't stink. That's actually the main one that the greatest one can't stand, is the one that would think sin is the most egregious one. But also the rest of y'all that aren't quite that egregious are under some other form of sin. That had been the old standpoint for bygones. But now it's now about appropriateness, is that this is the most appropriate thing. You are also inappropriate, and I'm also so appropriate that I also get to be inappropriate seldom, as it is appropriate to get to be inappropriate, and I'm celebrated for being inappropriate as it's appropriate to be inappropriate, while I'm also appropriately labeling you as inappropriate when you try to be appropriate while thinking yourself appropriate, but me also thinking you inappropriate, while I'm also appropriate for thinking myself appropriate while being appropriate, and also thinking myself and being thought of as being appropriate when I'm being inappropriate also, like that. That's the standpoint of the modern chauvinism. It had been the church in the past, but now it's just simply appropriateness. So you have a lot of schools to do now, right? You have schools upon schools upon schools upon students upon debt upon students upon, but you go to a lot of these schools, and yeah, you can get your master's degree at a school, but do they really appreciate you as a master? Yeah, this one came through our program, now they're a master now. But do you know any of your professors that really look at you as a master now? A master, no less. An August master had come among us. A student first and now a master, mind you. This is a master now, a actual fellow peer. Let us mind ourselves around this one, this fellow peer of ours that still owe us a little bit of debt. But we're going to mind ourselves now because this had been a master now. No, they train you in your master's degree, and they look at you as a half master. Because the only thing worse than being up under a master, because a master, mind you, can't do anything. Truly a master, how could they do anything but to benefit you, even as they're disciplining you, even as they're censoring you, even as they're reprimanding you? How can they do but to benefit you? A true master. When a master hits you upside the head, that's the greatest blessing to a teacher, because to a student, because a master can't help but benefit. But a half master can't help but cost you, because that half master is likely still in some form of debt or some form of being taken care of. So that half master can't do nothing but cost you. So we have a lot of half masters among us by a lot of the school. And if we're honest, you go to a lot of school. When you come out of the school, do you really feel yourself as a master or a half master? Someone that's been through a lot of learning, but you know you could do more learning, and you know you didn't do the best of the learning that you actually did, if you're being honest. So you have so many half masters among us that also keep us in check. So the best way to keep a jail under control, under the thumb, is to actually incorporate, bring on the detainees, the inmates, as the fellow guards, the worser form of guards, with the more better intelligence, better means of discipline, better means of compensation, better means of tolerating one another, suffering one another, making it intolerable, unsufferable for one another, have been the inmates to get that done for you if you want to get that done right. But then in the broader society, you need not masters among us, but you need half masters, half-ass masters everywhere among you, like that, living less than masters, but understanding themselves to be masters and overlaying their pretensions and their values one upon the other of appropriateness, no less. Because you can say a religion has been largely debunked in the modern society for intensive purposes, but appropriateness has not. So you can hold people down with their sense of being appropriate like that. Do you know how inappropriate that fool was? Yeah, let's get them out of here like that. Inappropriate like that. So it's a lot about appropriate now, and you have to have masters to get that done. But I was thinking that one thing, but to that line is that a little bit of like where I really want to do land this content is that if you actually do get up under a master, right? You got some kind of real training, whether for music or sometimes we don't appreciate how what it actually means to draw a livelihood as a teacher. Like you had different levels of teaching in the past, like another example would be like your gurus of India. I've read a little bit about your gurus secondhand from an actual foreigner in the form of Sir John Woodroffe, who would write about the guru class and profession in India, and it wasn't without its shortcomings in the past, but also some of its protocols that would have served that time and that class structure and that seat of learning. There had been pros and cons to that in the past, the guru class going back, but but so you don't actually think about what does that mean for a person to draw their profession and livelihood as a teacher of some kind. There would be different duties owed to a teacher in the past of a guru. That of a guru would be actually higher than even what you would pray to, because they say that in India, according to Arthur Avalon, you can get yourself in enough trouble even with a higher power that a competent guru could help you evade. If you had got enough trouble, a seasoned guru, what would be the difference between a guru and any other layman person is that a guru is just someone who's put in the reps. Because if you practice anything, you get better at it, up to and next to, near about being a little bit of an awesome person, and you do enough practice like that, have been a guru like that. But you get yourself out of sorts with a guru, or you manage to affront a guru, and you may not be able to walk that one back, even with your understanding of a higher power, because you also offended a higher power when you offended the one that the higher power had allowed among you to be your next soonest and likeness image of yourself, likeness similar to yourself, but also similar to what's great, had been a guru like that. So that's how profound it is to be a guru. But nowadays, in the modern iteration, um, uh, if a person were to teach someone, like you teach an instrument or you teach music, you don't appreciate what that means for them to be expecting your patronage, your clientship, whether you're still a minor or an adult. You don't appreciate what that means for them to be counting on your support of their livelihood while beset in consumerism, capitalism, individualism, and on like that. You don't appreciate what that means. But part of it is that there's more of an incentivized profit structure to keep you on the hook as a student longer than it would take for you to be actually proficient. I'm gonna try to relocate because there's some noise going on, and I don't want it to get the video compromised. But um, what I meant to say is that the it doesn't take as long to be proficient around something as it would be sold to a person, and so therefore uh, so the experience of an actual congruent teacher that can get you your wings like that, it might be different than what you're thinking, than what you're reared upon thinking a teacher can be, and it can be more profound or also more simple than that. But what I've come to appreciate is that any school you go to, like according to Osho, the word school refers to leisure. So a school is properly a seat of leisure. When you're leisured, you're actually a little bit of omnipotent and omniscient. You're like that when you're idle, because that's how great the mind is when it has time on its hands. That's also what you appear like in leisure, because you're actually a little bit more formidable and potent and viable when you're not spending yourself for anyone, when you're not committed to anything or anyone or any purpose or any labor. You're a little bit actually omnipotent and omniscient, a little bit like that. Because that's a little, because like you imagine someone working really hard and you come around them and fold your arms at your leisure, you would seem a little bit omnipotent and omniscient to them while they're prostrated working. It's just a subtle dynamic that you're imbued with a little bit of omnipotence and omniscience likeness when you're idle like that. It's been appreciated by thinkers like Sir John Woodrow. But also a school is like that where you can't help but be entitled at a school, or also a little bit near about semi omnipotent, omniscient, all knowing, that is a half master like that. You become like a half master when you have that much of resource and also leisure on your hands. But these schools, wherever you, if you appreciate your own upbringing, I would imagine anyone watching this, you got yourself into some bullshit around different schools in your life. There have been some bullshit about you, not you, but there have been some bullshit in your midst in these schools. If you recount your experience, you likely had some mean girls, or some jocks, or some dipshits, or some people you actually didn't even know you were needing to have a problem with, that you actually got a real problem with around these schools. That is a seat of leisure. Because what's going to happen? You got a construction crew, right? But now we got some leisure on our hands. I remember there's this one time about these people in my area a couple years back. These construction workers, they're having a break from the construction site, and one of them, he killed the other fool with the equipment like that, because I think he got to mocking the person's love life like that, and he got, now someone mocked my love life in here, called me gay, but I'm not out to become a construction worker over it, because all's fair in love and running your mouth, and I'm running my mouth up here, so it come with the territory. To each their own statements. But these construction workers, they got to killing each other ass, because they're sturdy around that hellified construction equipment and shit, and you're over here mocking the dude love life and shit, the dude tripping shit like that, killed the dude and shit on the site and shit like that, just over there and shit, just a little bit away from the boss and shit, around the other guys didn't know what the fuck they got going on, and now the dude's dead around the construction site and shit, right? And we got to get their ass arrested before we got to get back to work and shit, right? Had been that fool did that shit. Yeah, he was capping on that fool, and then he fucked him over with the equipment and shit. But that's what happened when you give people enough time on their hands to be people like that. Because you had to keep their ass to work, keep that shit. I know, man, I need y'all to keep that shit to 10 minutes, buddy. I need you to keep that break to 10 minutes, buddy. Enough to eat that healthy shit. If you got somebody in your life sturdy enough to make you some healthy shit that you can get off in 10 minutes and make you actually work better. Because that other bullshit, fast food shit that you had delivered up here and shit ain't gonna do nothing but slow you down, have you sluggish and shit. If anything, you shouldn't be eating on the damn site and shit, because you should be saving up that appetite to earn that appetite, buddy. Because I learned that from the great Conor McGregor. He likes to work out hungry and shit, like an animal on a primal animal on the hunt. But that's how I'd be running construction site and shit. So they don't kill each other and shit, man. You give them an hour and shit, they're killing each other and shit, man. So I just gave their ass 5 minutes, boss. Hey, boss, man, I only gave them 5 minutes and shit, so they don't get into trouble and shit. We can still make money like that. But you give people enough time on their hands, enough leisure, enough of school, and now we got people being people because they got enough time to be people. Otherwise, they're workers like that. Ain't too much a problem about workers and learners now, but people are a problem because the people got time on their hands to feel like people, and they get to be in a problem like that. But so if you appreciate any of your experiences at school, you're likely having a lot of difficulty in there. It's partly because of the entitlement, partly because of your asses could have been working harder, partly because the teachers are also entitled and shit, and they replicate the power dynamic and shit, and the cooler than thou and shit. And I can walk out in the hall without a hall pass as a teacher and shit, and y'all's ass better stay right here and shit, because y'all's ass are up under the school, and I am too as a teacher, but y'all's ass are up under it worse than me, because I can still sip my coffee in the middle of class and shit. So it's the thing about school and shit. But a lot of schools, they have exactly a problem at a certain point that you would, even the best school, you worked this hard to get into this school. Yeah, you got into the Ivy League school, right? Yeah, but there had been some shit in there, right? You had to go to sign up for that class, right? And that one mean ass person, they don't know how hard you had to work to get up in there, right? And there had been some bullshit about that, right? And then those other people in there, they don't even study that hard, but they're taking shortcuts, and then they want to